Mizoram Chief Minister P.U. Lalduhoma stirred up a row when he called for a separate Kuki-Zo nation during a recent visit to the United States. He said we've been unjustly divided and forced to coexist under 3 different governments in 3 different countries, and this is something we can never accept. The CM framed his message as a destiny of nationhood. He invoked a shared cultural and religious identity. So how should one see these comments by the Mizoram CM, and that too in a foreign land? Joining me to discuss this today are Lieutenant General Shaukin Chauhan, defense analyst, journalist and author Savio Rodriguez, and in the studio is my colleague Deepak Badana. Welcome to the News9 Plus show. Savio, I want to start by asking you this. Break down for us what exactly happened in when the Mizoram Chief Minister traveled to the United States. He made 2 statements, 2 very different statements, and one statement is of course reassuring, the other one is not. Tell us what he said, why he said it, and why we should worry about the second statement and not the first.
So, Lalduhoma, the Chief Minister of Mizoram, went to the US in the month of September.
Right.
On September 2nd, he spoke to an audience in Maryland. And at that meeting, in his speech, he spoke about the main objective of Zoro movement in 1988 was Zo reunification within India. Can the Zo people in India, Burma, Bangladesh today aspire to be reunited under India?
Right.
Now, a statement like that is well received and accepted. Yes.
Right.
But let's come to what happens 2 days later in Indianapolis, which again is a state in the US.
Right.
And here is what he says over there. And this is on September 4th. As I approach the end of my speech, I want to let everyone here know that the primary reason I accepted the invitation to the United States is to seek a path forward towards unity for all of us.
Right.
And then he goes on to say, I want us to have the conviction and confidence that one day, through the strength of God who made us a nation, we will rise together under one leadership to achieve our destiny of nationhood.
Right.
While a country may have borders, a true nation transcends such limitations. We have been unjustly divided, forced to exist under 3 different governments in 3 different countries, and this is something we can never accept.
Right.
Now, the question that I'm asking the Chief Minister is very simple.
Right.
In your first speech on September 2nd, you speak about bringing together and the unification of the Kuki-Zo tribes under India.
Right.
On September 4th, you go completely on the opposite direction after 48 hours, and you talk about being forced to coexist in 3 countries under 3 governments, and it is something that you will not accept. Now, why is this shocking? Is because one of the countries is which Lalduhoma is the Chief Minister of a state in India.
Yes. Yes.
He's a Chief Minister of Mizoram. He has gone to the United States of America, and as a Chief Minister, in his second speech in Indianapolis on September 4th, he talks about being forced to coexist. So the real question is he forced to coexist with India being the Chief Minister of a state?
Right.
Number 1. Number 2 is when you're talking about existing forcefully, and you're talking about under one leadership of nationhood, is not India the nation under which Manipur and Mizoram are the states and an integral part of India?
Right, absolutely.
So what nation are you talking about?
Right.
Are you talking about a separate nation that is sovereign? Or are you talking about a nation of collective of people of a same tribe that is under India? Because what you are not being very clear with is that your second speech in Indianapolis
Yes.
is nothing but a seeding of separatist agenda. Now, the damage control being done by the chief minister, as some of the reports are coming, attributing it to sources in the
Right.
Mizoram government, talk about his September 2nd speech.
Yes.
But the September 2nd speech is not what we have a problem with.
Right.
The
Absolutely. And
problem is with the September 4th.
yes, Savio, and I'm going to
What
ask
do you
General
mean?
Chauhan this. General Chauhan, two statements made by the same chief minister in the United States, 2 days apart. Striking a very different chord. In the first statement, he's of course talking of the unity of the tribes and possibly under India. And the second statement, as Savio mentioned, is the one that is problematic because he's talking about uniting all of the three tribes and the fact that it's under three different nations, and he speaks about the unity of the tribal, the Zo Kuki people. Do you see this as a kind of a slip, or is it possibly something deeper than that, given the fact that there are a lot of theories floating about foreign powers being very interested in creating new countries in the region? General Chauhan, what's your take on this?
Firstly, thank you for getting me on your show.
Yes.
I've gone through this tweet. I've gone through whatever he spoke in great detail, and I feel personally, very disturbed that a chief minister of a state can say this in a country outside.
Right.
We've had a very long insurgency movement in Mizoram.
Yes.
We finally brought it to peace in 1986. We've signed an accord with them. And as per that, they are a part of the Union of India. There is no question of seeking any kind of nationhood beyond the Union of India.
Right.
As you're aware, Sandeep, we've had the 16-kilometer free move regime.
Yes.
That dealt with the tribes. That
Right.
dealt with the fact that the lines between Myanmar and India, Burma and India, had divided tribes. And therefore, we permitted the tribes on 16 kilometers, on both sides of 16 kilometers, to trade, to meet, to interact, and to intermarry. We had this since 1965, 66.
Yes. Yes.
And it has been accepted. It is only in the last couple of years that unscrupulous elements, anti-national elements, have misused the 16-kilometer free move regime.
Yes.
And therefore, the government has had to remove it. But the main issue was that we understand the fact that these tribes have been divided, but there can be no compromise on nationhood.
Yes.
There can be the borders of India are inviolate. And I don't buy this larger, plan of any other country, because it involves three separate countries. It involves three separate countries in very different situations.
Right.
Burma is facing huge insurgencies.
Yes.
Bangladesh is in a great amount of disturbance. India is
Yes.
a stable land.
Yes.
And the Mizos have, if you go to Mizoram, and as I'm sure you all have, Mizoram is a model state.
Right.
They are growing well, they're economically doing well, the people are doing well, the people are rich. I see no reason why a chief minister of a state should even make this kind of statement.
Yes, absolutely. It's baffling indeed, General Chauhan, and thanks for highlighting that. The fact that there can be no negotiating the external boundaries of India. But Deepak, what you've been tracking this region as well. Tell us why this should be of concern to us, the Chief Minister's statement made in the United States, given the fact that you have a kind of an arc of instability in the region in northeastern India. You have Bangladesh, where you've seen a violent protest that upstaged Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Then Myanmar has an insurgency that's been raging on for 2 years, and now you have the Chief Minister of a very peaceful state, Mizoram, going abroad and making a statement like this. Should we worry, Deepak?
See, while I can't say what the Chief Minister might have intended to do, he'd be
Right.
the best person to answer for his speech. It is
We're
a
actually
fact.
waiting for a statement from the Chief Minister. There hasn't been any
There hasn't
clarification
been any
yet.
proper
It's almost 2
clarification.
months, yes.
As the sources that they've mentioned
Yes.
refer to the 2nd of September speech.
Right.
But it must be understood that people in the northeast, particularly this arc from Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, there are deep-seated anxieties there today.
Right.
And they're largely the result of the convergence that the other nations have been facing.
Right.
So the Chin tribe in Myanmar and the Zo tribe, which also exists in, say, Bangladesh, they would have been at the receiving end of a lot of chaos that happened in the past 1.5 to 2 years. And these tribes are connected. They are relatives practically. So they sympathize with each other's concerns.
Yes.
Now, it must also be recalled that the Chief Minister was very vocal in his statement against a border fence with Myanmar.
Yes.
I, in fact, spoke to General Chauhan about it on a story, like I think 6-7 months back.
Yes.
And that was a very good learning opportunity for me. So there are some anxieties that the Indian state has dealt with.
Right.
And the question of separatism. Now, Mizoram was the face of, what do you say? Mizoram was one of those states that integrated itself into the Indian Union.
Yes.
It has existed without, much ado. It's doing relatively well.
Right.
There's economic progress. And what the Chief Minister might need to do is have a look at what is happening, on the borders.
On his doorstep.
On his doorstep, and what is happening beyond the borders.
So let's ask Savio this, because Savio tracks the Northeast very closely. He's traveled there extensively and spent a lot of time there, as indeed General Chauhan has. And all of you are experts here in the Northeast, beginning with General Chauhan, who's been DG Assam Rifles there. But Savio, tell us this timing of this statement. I mean, do you read more into this than just, say, vote bank politics, that it could be the fact that the Chief Minister just went there to, talk to the community in the United States and say, listen, we are all one people, but, under 3 different geographical entities. But is there more than meets the eye, Savio?
I would like to think that the Chief Minister should have been a little bit more prudent in the statements made in the United States.
Yes.
I'll tell you why. Because the Manipur conflict primarily is between the Meiteis and the Kukis.
Yes.
And it has reached a stage over the last 18 months that there is a large degree of separation that has come into the Meitei and the Kuki community.
Yes.
Right? Now, if you look at the illegal immigrants in Manipur, they are roughly about 5,200 and above. But if you look at the refugees which are termed as refugees but illegal immigrants in Mizoram, there are around 40,000 of them.
Yes.
Right? So you do have a problem happening in the border, and that's a reality. The point is whether the Kukis want to move into a separate dominion, and that is a separate calculation, delimitation that will happen, and that separation of Manipur is something that I don't think is going to be allowed by this government or by the people of Manipur, number one.
Right.
Now, why does this statement create a lot of furrow is simply because Sheikh Hasina, when 4 weeks before she was ousted, made a similar allegation about a white man by the name, which we later realized was Donald Lu of the United States, to state that he spoke about a Christian nation carved out of Myanmar, Bangladesh, and parts of Manipur and Mizoram.
Right.
Now, what he is saying in his second speech in Indianapolis, and what Sheikh Hasina are talking about, is exactly the problem and the solution to the problem that's being found. So, when you look at a US point of view, he has gone and made the statement in the United States. He's made a pro-India statement on September 2nd, and then on September 4th, that pro-India stance has changed.
Yes. Which is baffling.
In the first speech, he's not talking about nationhood.
Right.
So what changed in America?
Yes, what changed in America? And General Chauhan, it's been almost 2 months. We're fully aware of the fact that he made the statement 2 months ago in September 2nd and September 4th. But there's been no clarification, very interestingly, until now. And now we're getting, dribs and drabs of sources talking to various platforms. And that's only a result of when Savio started writing the story and highlighting the fact that the Chief Minister had made these 2 statements. What's the right thing for the Chief Minister to do, General Chauhan, in your appreciation?
Sandeep, let me put this in perspective first. When I was the DG Assam Rifles, we had a number of, the Chin state has been in a state of almost war against the Myanmar army.
Yes.
The Chin National Army, the Kachin National Army, the KNA and the CNA have been fighting the Tatmadaw, that's the Myanmar National Army, for almost the last 20 years. And there was a stage at which there were a large number of Chins from Myanmar who would come into Mizoram. So I went across to the Chief Minister then, Mr. Laldeng, and Lanthan Howla.
Yes.
And I asked him, I said, Mr. Lanthan Howla, you've got to stop these Chin refugees from coming in. We can't afford to allow these people to come in because the borders are open. And what he told me then was that, General Chauhan, these are my brothers. I can't stop them.
Right.
They're welcome to come to our homes. They are welcome for sanctuary, and we will do our best to help them. So that is one aspect of the larger nation of Chins.
Yes.
There's no doubt that they are related. There's no doubt that the Mizos, their sacred forests, their sacred mountains are all in the Chin state. There's no doubt about that.
Right.
There's no doubt that they consider themselves as one people.
Yes.
Right? But importantly, there are two nations.
Yes.
There's an international boundary. And we can't sort of even talk about the fact that there can be anything else in this, from India. India's borders are inviolate, and there's no question that the Chins or anybody else can get the chance to make themselves one nation. That is totally unacceptable. The second issue is that what should the Chief Minister do now?
Yes.
He must issue a clarification immediately that there's no question. As the Chief Minister of the state, he did not mean this. He meant maybe a cultural formation of a nation. He meant maybe a cultural getting together of all the Chins. In Mizoram, the Kukis are also Chinzo people, as well as in Myanmar, as well as in Bangladesh. So culturally, this is acceptable that they are culturally one people. But as far as boundaries are concerned, all boundaries are inviolate. There's no question of violating either the Myanmar boundary or the Bangladesh boundary or us.
Absolutely.
And I am convinced that no nation on earth can change these boundaries. Nobody has the appetite today for this additional continuous warfare. As Savio says, it's very clear that Burma is in a state of war. Bangladesh is in an absolute. As you said, we are the only island of actual peace.
Yes, we are the only island of actual peace, General Chauhan,
and Mizos have done very well in India.
Yes, absolutely.
They are very erudite.
And that's the reason why we should worry. But thank you very much for throwing more light on this, General Chauhan. That's the reason we come to you for your views and insights. Thank you so much for joining us this evening as we're talking about this bizarre statement that the Mizoram Chief Minister has made in the United States, and we hopefully will see a clarification from him very soon. Thank you for joining us, Savio, on the 9 p.m. show, and my colleague Deepak Badana. And thank you for watching the News 9 Plus show.